This presentation is delivered by the Stanford Center for Professional Development.
April the 19th, 2011, session in our series on entrepreneurship in Asian high-tech industries. We have another panel session today about Asian entrepreneurs who have been successful or are being successful in the United States. And I'm looking forward to our discussion. For students who are registered for credit, remember that your comments are due by email to me with a CC to Tiffany, our course assistant, within 2 weeks of the date of the session. So the comments for April 5th are due today. Now, I actually had to contact the TV network to find out how to get to the slides on the Stanford website. So I have found that out, and I'll send that out to the class if you are not able to see the slides. And I'll also send out a note to everybody who is in our big list about how to see these as free seminars. All of the sessions will be available online in streaming video until the end of the quarter, roughly mid-June. So I'm really happy today that I have two entrepreneurs, both from China, who are active in the United States. Furthest away from me is Yu-Kai Chow, who is a serial entrepreneur, even at this point, I think, and has just started a company called Reward Me, which is a mobile loyalty management solution. That's a wonderful description. And next to me is Dr. Shirley Chen, who is the founder and CEO of a company called WinVivo. And WinVivo is making botanical-based natural therapeutics. So I'm going to refer you to our website for further information about both of our presenters today and ask them if we can go on and get into our presentations. So first, I'm going to ask Shirley if you will take the floor. Sure. And let me give you the remote control for the slides, and we should be ready to go.
Thank you, Richard, for inviting me again to your course. It was 1.5 years ago. I was invited by Dr. Richard Dasher to come and give a talk about our brand new company. Well, 1.5 years later, what had happened to our company? Well, obviously, we'll still survive and thriving. Okay, as you can see from the change of logo, what you just saw is what we are now. Back when we just started, you got this amateurish-looking logo. Okay, but we were very enthusiastic because we thought we're catching a very green tidal wave at that point. There started a green revolution in Silicon Valley with our botanical-based products. Now, we started with our so-called blockbuster natural product called the Healing Balm. Well, look at the style of it. We just won an award for package design. Okay, so that's pretty good for a little startup company in Silicon Valley, right? But what contained in this pretty little box is a very powerful natural product that can heal the most difficult to heal wounds. I would say it's probably the best in the world. Later, I'll show you the examples. But look at the big picture here. What our company is focusing on are chronic health conditions. A lot of you here know that how serious our healthcare problems in this country is, and how costly it is to really treat and or prevent all those chronic conditions, chronic health problems. Specifically, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular issues, and in fact, a lot of us, perhaps 50% of our audience here. And at the end stage of diabetes, you know that people would suffer from massive tissue necrosis and it's very hard to heal the wounds, and they may face amputation. Okay. So before I show you those clinically graphic pictures, I have to warn you, okay? Some of them are really very gross, but you're enjoying the outcome though. So here in Silicon Valley, I wanted to share you just a little thought about our mentality here. I think Silicon Valley is a great place to start this kind of business. Combine the high-tech, fast-paced innovation mode with the slow, nature-loving, sustainability, tree-hugging kind of mentality. And here people are very pragmatic. They care about solutions to problem. If you got a problem, let's find a solution. They don't care about how much experimentation it's going to take, whether it happens in your garage or happens in your kitchen. People will jump at the opportunity and try to find a solution. That's how we're doing here. And you probably heard the great reformer of China, Deng Xiaoping, who used to say, I have to say in Chinese first, 不管白猫黑猫，只要抓住耗子就是好猫. Anybody here understand that? Okay. He said, I don't care if it's a black cat or white cat. As long as that cat catches the rat, I call him a good cat. Okay. So that's how the attitude we take here is facing that massive epidemic of chronic health problems. What are you going to do? A lot of people here in Silicon Valley, if you ask them, they say they're not going to depend. They don't want to depend on prescription drugs for the rest of their life to solve the chronic health problems. So what can we do here as innovator in Silicon Valley? So I trained as a biomedical scientist in Nobel Prize winners lab, and later became an IP lawyer at Wilson Sonsini. And we have helped a lot of startups in Silicon Valley, including biotech, pharmaceutical, medical device, cosmeceutical, you name it. Our clients try to come up with the solutions to the problem from every different angle. But what I can come up is something I would say, I wanted to go back to 3,000 years of history of human use of natural products in treating and preventing diseases. Not because it's where I came from, China, but also I see the limitations of modern medicine, prescription drugs in treating chronic conditions specifically. So we built up an international team, combine business people and natural product experts and manufacturing facilities across the Pacific, from China to the Silicon Valley, and produce and launch 6 products within a year. For a healthcare company in Silicon Valley, that's pretty fast. Okay, so the first product, as I mentioned, is an extremely effective wound healing product. I will, try to be time conscious. So here you can see in America, wound care costs a lot of money, and you see that chronic wounds are especially challenging in terms of care and how you can bring out a satisfactory outcome. And you can see if it's not treated well, you may lose your leg or your foot, okay? So what we have here, the healing balm, is that it's a simple topical ointment, but it combines all the components necessary for the whole wound healing process: debridement, anti-infection, angiogenesis, and promotion of blood circulation, and finally tissue regeneration. You can see that for this massive necrosis, tissue necrosis, within 3 months, the foot can be healed. Otherwise, it could face amputation, period, no problem. And then this one is also an old man, but when he was young, he suffered a major wound and healed his leg with massive scar tissues. But later, when he was hurt again, 40 years later, because of his age, the scar tissue prevents it from healing properly and just could not stop the necrosis. with the healing balm, you can see that it healed, saved his leg. And then this is a very tragic incident, but the outcome is extremely exciting. This is an 8-year-old girl accidentally grabbed an electrical switch. Guess what happened? She got electrified on her finger. Okay, warned you, this is pretty gross. So, yeah, the doctor debrided her fingers and got rid of the charred tissue. You see how fast the tissue grows. Right in front of your eyes, you observe human tissue regeneration. Within 21 days, this young girl got her finger back and completed the restore of structure. There's of course, no amputation, no contracture, and she's totally normal. Well, this happened in China, okay? And now we are repeating the same clinic or animal experiments in the US, and got extremely, I would say, exciting results consistent with what's happening in China. And we obtain exclusive license to this natural product. Well, if you compare the story of products people here use, all the gadgets, all the bottles, all this stuff, and nurses, they're telling us that this is all they use. They have to use multiple components, multiple products to deal with one or the tough, difficult to heal wounds. Sometimes the wound just would not move at all. But with the healing balm, it starts to move really quickly. So it's very encouraging. And that's what's even more exciting is the skin cancer area. We found that the healing balm not only healed it, you can see that. I don't have time to go through the clinical detail, but you can see after brief debridement, you can see the healing of the wounds, okay, and happening gradually in this old lady, happening less than 2 months. The beauty of this is the massive cancer tissue would not grow back. That's really significant. She would not have to go back to the clinic to go through the so-called Mohs surgery anymore. Okay, so fast forwarding, now that company is not just treating the topical skin problems, scratching on the surface, because you know that a lot of problems like diabetic ulcer, the problem stands from within. And you can see that because of your lack of a strong immune defense, you could be subjected to all kinds of problems. Sometimes the problem manifests themselves in the skin. So we developed this.
Shirley, can I interrupt you for a second? Because there's a couple of questions I really want to ask about the first product.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Is that based on traditional Chinese medicine?
Indeed.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the first question. The second question is, for a drug company in the United States to develop something that would be a prescription drug, part of this for whatever purpose, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars and lots of clinical trials and probably
Indeed.
8 to 12 years.
So exactly, Richard. So that's why we're saying that our model is quite different from the traditional pharmaceutical model. You can call this pharmaceutical, but I would not go that far because I think this can be used for home care, even for ordinary skin care, even for people with a little acne or rosacea.
So even that first product is over the counter?
It's over the counter.
Okay, not requiring a prescription.
No.
And so you're doing experiments to demonstrate the validity, but do you have to go through the FDA clinical trial process, or what do you have to do to bring it
That's
here?
a complicated regulatory question, but I can answer very simply that right now it's marketed as a skin treatment ointment, just similar to the one you can find on the shelf of Whole Foods for skin problems. Okay, the beauty of this is that it has a wide application ranges, and you can use it to treat little burns and cuts and garden wounds and stuff. And also nurses, home care professionals, they can use to treat the difficult to treat wounds depending on and it's very easy to use. It does not require any special training.
So because of the way you're describing it, you're able to basically avoid that whole process and bring it to the market?
Okay,
without the FDA process in this case?
I would say that because it's formulated using natural ingredients like botanicals, just like you see the green tea and the costly high-end, now not even high-end anymore. All these natural herbal-based skincare products widely available over the counter in cosmetic shop, Whole Foods, and health food store. But I think here it's more about education and how people can be convinced by the efficacy of your product.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Keep going. Thank you.
And think about how much money it can save the consumers, because as an IP attorney, I know that in order to secure a position for your product, you have to spend a lot of money on security, patent filing, and everything. Later, you wanted to go through all the costly clinical trials. How are you going to recover the cost? Hundreds of millions. Of course, you're going to charge a very high price for your product. Here, what we have, a jar of all this healing, amazingly effective healing, only costs $60. And a jar of that can be used to heal a very difficult to heal diabetic ulcer. That could have cost you $10,000 if you ever get healed at all. Sometimes you have to be amputated. Anyway, so moving forward, so we developed this oral natural products based on vegetables. Okay, so because we wanted to develop modern type of natural therapeutics based on the principle of using food as medicine. We don't have to go and find the strange, esoteric herbs. We just go and investigate what those for thousands of years, people in Asia, in China, Japan, Korea, how they use ordinary herbs like reishi mushroom and shiitake mushroom. You'll see that in a lot of Chinese restaurants, and how they use to boost the immune system. At the same time, we combine with those vegetables people eat a lot in Vietnam, Thailand, like camellia plant and Japanese honeysuckle. That's a very popular antiviral, antibacterial botanicals. We put them together. We found out that this ordinary combination turned out to have a very good protective, broad spectrum protective effect. So when you travel, when you go to conferences and you hear people coughing and you worry, what strain or what superbug they carry? At this point, I think, before you even know what strain of superbug is there, you can actually help your body protect itself by giving it a little gentle boost. All right, you don't have to even worry about specifically targeting that particular strain. So you can get to know about this by visiting our website later on. And then later we also find that this product can actually do wonder. All right, I'm very proudly to announce that it not only can help people with the chronic sinusitis, overcome the nasal congestion issue, it actually brought back people's sense of smell after they suffer anosmia for a long time. It's just it shocked the hell out of me as a scientist as well. This shows how powerful when you combine the right kind of natural ingredients, they can actually help your body rebuild itself. And then we take the holistic approach of treating topical problems with systemic oral products, such as cold sore because of the herpes, and also acne because of a bacteria problem, and the eczema because of an imbalanced immune system. And we got very encouraging results. And you don't know how many people actually suffer from all this all these skin problems. It's a shockingly high percentage in this country. What I want to show you, look this carefully. What even more shocking is that these natural products, we find that it can be also used to treat psoriasis. And this is a guy who suffered psoriasis for 10 years and tried everything under the sun, natural or prescription drug, biologics, you name it, antibodies. But then with the Botanical Garden, the natural capsules, within 3 months, his skin is cleared. And it's on the way to complete recovery. And no more itching. Okay, hurry up. So now, you see, and later we will develop very effective lozenges for people with a chronic cough problem. And then we also address the issue of broad spectrum allergy. Now you know that a lot of people complain about gluten sensitivity, and nothing you can do about it. There's no drug for it. And all doctors tell them is just, just avoid the thing, and you will be okay. Or your quality of life really is compromised. Later, we found that it also works well for, of course, all protein-based, allergens. So you can see the approach here is quite different from the magic bullet pharmaceutical approach. We're not trying to nail down exactly what allergen is, but you have to build your body to cope with broad spectrum of friendly. This is supposed to be friendly substances. Why it's reacting to yourself? It's sometimes your immune system is out of balance. So we take the Eastern holistic approach and develop product to address this broadly. Okay, here we go. Now, you can see that we wanted to present a very, I would say, natural, comforting, and I would say green image to the public. And we also wanted to design our product to meet the busy lifestyle of modern people, especially people traveling. So we come up with a new package design. Well, later I can show you that how it can meet people's special needs. So I appreciate your time, and ask me challenging questions later. Thank you.
Thank you. So Shirley, while I'm changing slides, we asked you to speak here, what, a year ago now? Mm-hmm. And at that point, I think your first product was just beginning to hit the market.
Right.
So what an incredible track record in 1 year.
Yeah, we haven't told you about our third class of products, and I think everybody here would want it because you don't have a wound, you don't have psoriasis, but you want to eat, right? So we developed this very effective, low-calorie, high-fiber, and a very tasty
okay, so who is
bars.
We? Who is we?
WinVivo.
Yeah, but this sounds like something you would need 300 pharmaceutical engineers to do.
Oh, thank you. We have a very, I would say unique model because for massive production, like capsules and ointment, we have it outsourced to companies in California, right here. Okay. And the bars, we love to do it ourselves because we work with experienced vegan baker, all 100% plant-based. Vegan baker came up with the flavor, and we love to engineer it and make it more tastier. And we are the first guinea pigs. So,
yeah, okay.
Stay tuned.
So, this is fascinating, but I have to say it remains a mystery to me because as a startup company, this sounds like a level of activity that just would take 10 times as many people and really hundreds of millions of dollars.
Thank you. We already started to generate revenue, so that's pretty good for a healthcare company.
Also pretty good within the first year of doing anything. I mean, really, because until your product launched, you had like 6 months. I mean, I really don't think the company was formed until like 6 months before product launch, was it?
We want to follow the high-tech model, Richard.
Okay.
Not the classic drug model.
Okay. So we'll come back to this whole issue of why WinVivo is being successful. That's really kind of one of our main themes for today. In the meantime, we'll move to the high-tech model.
Real high-tech
ask
model.
Yukai to talk about Reward Me. And yeah, go ahead, Yukai.
Cool. So, hello everyone. Very honored to be here. My talk, the first half of my my talk would be just going through a little bit about Reward Me, how it works, what it does, a little bit about the team and background, but also since this panel is about being Asian and starting a company in the U.S., I'll also share some of my experiences on that in terms of what I see as some advantages as well as some obstacles that I face being that. So RewardMe is a mobile loyalty management solution, and pretty much what it is it's a mobile application that allows users to go to their favorite stores and restaurants, get points, and redeem them for free food or drinks or merchandise. So it's like a loyalty program on your phone. And we started this because we noticed that there's a lot of stores that give you different types of loyalty program, your punch cards, your little swiping cards, and then you realize you have like 20 or 30 of them in your wallet, you take them out, you always forget them at home, and then you have like 10 punch cards with the same company, same store that has one punch on it. So we wanted to consolidate all of this into one solution, in which became RewardMe. So first thing is to turn to the next page.
Is it working?
Yeah, pointed at the computer. It's not.
It could be because this is PDF. I'll take care of it. There we go.
Okay.
There you go. Just tell me when to move it.
Okay. So a little background about our team. So the three core founders of our company met at school at UCLA a little while ago. And we've been working on startups for over 3 years together. We worked on different companies. These are some of the projects we worked on. Some of them were there's ups and downs, and some of them were pretty promising. One product, FD Career, was rated on Mashable as one of the top 10 social networks for Gen Ys. Unfortunately, it was hit by the economic crisis, and we had to make a switch in direction. And our core strength lies in social media and gamification. We have led campaigns for some big brands like Levi's, Activision, Lakers, Warner Brothers, and just basically help them go into the social media world or make their processes more fun and interesting. For RewardMe, we were then joined by another entrepreneur who was very successful. He's had 4 successes in the past. One of them was sold for $850 million, and then 27, and then 7 networks is profitable, and number 2 in the research and motion space. So that's our core team that we formed. So what is RewardMe? I kind of briefly went over it, but RewardMe is a loyalty management solution for the restaurant, hospital, and retail industries. And so far right now, what we do is we give, it's a QR code-based solution where you bring your iPhone and Android to the restaurant, to the store, and when you buy something, you scan the QR code with your phone, and it'll say, "Ding, you have 250 points." You can then look in your phone and see, for 500 points, you can get a free burrito. If 1,000 points, you can get something else. You also get rewarded by referring friends. So if you refer your friend and your friend goes and buys something, then you get double the points. Or there's sometimes you can go in slow hours, 3 to 5 for restaurants, and you get more points. So it's basically making the retail experience more fun and interesting. You get more points. You need to share on the social web, and it allows stores to get more return on their investment. So again, you go in, you get points. The version right now is still completely mobile-based, but we are moving on to a generation 2 of our product, which is a tablet solution, actually, which is we're providing restaurants and stores a tablet, kind of like an iPad, but probably a lot cheaper than an iPad. And so that allow them to service any customer without them having an iPhone or Android. And so, so you just bring in your stuff, and you get your free stuff. So we've launched, we're relatively new. We started working on this in September of last year, and we launched officially in January 18th. So it's about 3 months ago. So in these 3 months, we have a lot of success and luck. We managed to get some pretty well-known clients like Denny's. We have a Starbucks in Vancouver, Wetzel Pretzels, Posh Bagel in Mountain View, have a Quickly, and usually a lot of the audience don't know what Quickly is, but if it's a big Asian crowd, everyone knows the boba store. So we're having some good success for only 3 months in, and we have some pretty good leads and getting more customers. What we're thankful for is as of today, we're starting to get inbound leads on our website, almost on a daily or every 2 days basis. And it's very rare for a company for start to create their stuff, and then 3 months later, people just call and say, "Hey, we want your solution." So that's something that was very useful for us. So that's my company, and obviously you can ask a lot more questions about my company. I then want to go into more of the personal story of me and how I started or the things I faced. So I moved here from Taiwan in 2000, so about 11 years ago. I came here to study, and mostly it's because my father was a diplomat. And so I grew up here. I studied international economics in UCLA, so not very much of a technical background. My parents and my family members, they all wanted me to study engineering, some science background, and I think that's a very popular mainstream way for Asian Americans to go. But I decided that I really like business. I like interacting with people. I like how businesses operates together as a machine itself. So then I just kind of was rebellious, and so I studied economics instead. I created my first business first year in college, and the one that I started in first year was a very simple one. It was actually, I think I started two at the same time. One was more of a just online retailing business, selling electronic products like digital camera and GPS. What I kind of did to start off was I would go on eBay and I would buy TI-83 calculators at 2 a.m. in the morning when no one would bid against me, and I'd buy them for $40. And then 2 p.m. In the day I would sell them, and everyone's bidding against each other, so I'd sell them for $60. So I thought that was kind of cool and fun. I was a college student. I had nothing else better to do. So I just did that for a while, and then eventually I was like, hey, why don't I buy like other products too, or why don't I sell new products? So I went more into the digital camera space. I sold some iPods. It was the first few years of the original white and fat iPod, even though back then it was thin and slick. And I also started another more like a nonprofit service where it's just helping people connect with other professionals, more like a LinkedIn in this time, but not as high tech. And as a person who's not born in the U.S., throughout the years, I have faced a lot of issues with having legal status as an entrepreneur in the States, because there are some very clearly defined visas for technical workers who work here. There are visas for the students. There are visas for the executives, but there are no visas for the entrepreneurs. So as an entrepreneur, it was very, very challenging to figure out how I can stay here and continue to grow the business, become something that creates value and hopefully hire more people in the States. And it's always been a struggle. I can't talk too much about it because some of it might get into some questions, especially it's on air. So when people ask about, coming from Asia, is that helpful or not, or is there more problems? I definitely will say that there's a lot of obstacles, but at the same time, there are some advantages. The advantage is very, very clear when your business is directly related to research in Asia or getting manufacturing hardware. So right now, like I said, we're going into more of a tablet space, and we're looking to build customized tablets. Because I'm from Asia, I have a lot of friends there. I have connections there. I immediately got in touch with the people who could create very, very cost-effective tablets that we can offer to our customers. So that's one big advantage. But for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, you're mostly focused on software products, and you're selling to businesses here. You're not dealing with hardware. And I would say coming from Asia or just from another country has some huge advantages. And one is definitely just have a broader perspective. I think you are better geared to become an entrepreneur because when you are born and raised and grew up in the exact same area, a lot of things would seem fixed to you. This is how people are. This is how society works. This is how everything has to go. And you kind of get used to it, and you don't try to solve these problems. But when you go from one culture to another, one environment to another, you realize that, hey, what's completely the norm over here is completely different somewhere else. What's polite here is offensive somewhere else. And then you see, wow, things can change. It's not set in stone. So when you're in a new environment, you see problems, you're like, wow, it doesn't have to be this way. You can go out and try to solve it. You can create something better than the status quo. And I think that's really important as an entrepreneur. And then also, it trains you to be more resourceful. And as an entrepreneur, you're always solving a chicken and egg problem. You don't have money, so how do you hire people to build a product? You don't have a product, how do you get customers? How do you raise money? And if you don't have raise money, how do you do the rest of everything? So when you move from a country to another, you have to adapt to a lot of things. Now, I'm a little lucky because I moved to the States relatively early in my life, so I had a little more time to adopt. But it was still a lot of work. I'm thankful that the first 4 years in the U.S. I was in Kansas, and Kansas, there's not a lot of things going on, but it's an amazing place to learn English. Because there's no one else I can talk to in Chinese, and I have a lot of friends here in California, and if you're someone like that, highly take my suggestions. So people in California that I see, they come to California from Asia, and obviously everything's kind of uncomfortable. You don't speak the language. You feel in your country you might be very smart and clever. People respect you, but when you talk to others in English, you just sound very stupid. You're just uncomfortable. So just naturally, you hang out with people who also just speak Chinese and also have very broken English. So you're learning English from each other. It doesn't help you very much. So Kansas, none of that. It's everyone speaks English. People thought I looked exactly like Jackie Chan and Jet Li at the exact same time. I don't know how, but that's how it is. And it was a great place to learn English. And my first year. When I was in high school, I was taking ESL, English as a second language, as well, and I joined the debate team at the same time. So I got slaughtered in every tournament. I was like, I was having my little translator dictionary, and I was like, tick, 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 and the other team was like, blah, 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 blah. I have no idea what they're talking about. And I'm like trying to translate, I'm like, I think he doesn't like me, I think he disagrees with this. And it was very sad, but I learned very quickly, it's just like, I know that I won't die, and the time will go past and I'll learn from it. And I think that's the attitude that a lot of entrepreneurs should have too, right? When you run a startup, you encounter problems all day long, all the time, things are against you, you have to go out of your comfort zone, you sound stupid all the time, but you have to keep going, you have to understand that you won't die, time will go by, and you will learn you have progress, and by a lot of hard work and luck, you'll become successful. So hopefully my English right now is kind of okay because of that. And at the same time, it builds tenacity for you because you're not giving up. You're going through the comfort zone. Also, at the same time, if you move around, you also learn to make more friends because I actually moved, like I said, I moved to Kansas, I was in Taiwan, I was in South Africa for a little bit, I was in Vancouver, Southern California. So when you move around, you also learn to make more friends faster because you realize that, hey, if you don't make friends fast enough, you leave and you lose all your friends and you're just always the foreigner. So again, if you just grow up in the same areas, like a lot of people would just have their buddies that they always hang out with, and they join a company, they just have their coworkers, and the network's relatively small. And as an entrepreneur, obviously, when you find your co-founders and your employees, you need the best people to join your team. You can't have someone that's mediocre because if one person mediocre, that's probably 30% of your company that's mediocre, and you're trying to compete against a giant company with thousands of employees who are more than mediocre, better than mediocre. So that definitely that's definitely really important for you to have a strong network, go out and reach, and when you have a startup, when you have an idea, you can go to someone, you can bring the best people on your team instead of just that guy who lives next door or was in your classroom. Oh, next slide.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously there's a lot of obstacles for coming from Asia, and that's also different from just being born Asian in the States. One definitely is entrepreneurial legal status. Again, there's no visa for it. A lot of people are actually facing the same issues. They're just kind of keeping it down low. There's, again, language and culture barriers. So if you come, the way you do business in Asia is very different from the way you do business in the US. So it's harder to get deals through. You don't know the exact way to make people feel comfortable in working with you. And so those are things any kind of business person, entrepreneur needs to deal with. A lot of times when you create a startup, your startup also lacks diversity, the same issue. If you come from a country, when you create a company, it just tends to be that everyone in your company is from that same country because you're just more familiar with them, you're just friends with them. And if you are an American-born Asian, you probably have a lot more diverse friends with different ethnicities, and so when you create a company, you probably have a more diverse board. And so obviously there's a lot of usefulness and strength in having a diverse team. And there's a general stereotype that people from Asia, Asians are generally stronger technically but weaker managers. So if you look at when you go out and do sales or you're managing people, there's still this thing about people feeling where it's just you have to think a little bit, okay, people have to work to be open-minded to feel like you are a good manager or a good entrepreneur, you could be a good CEO, because a lot of people are still expecting you to be that technical role in the company. And so that's another challenge for being an entrepreneur. And another thing which is true is that the education system in a lot of Asian countries do not promote creativity I know a lot of, and I agree, a lot of the education in the U.S. don't do that either. It's still, figuring out what the teacher wants you to say instead of coming up with something creative. But in Asia, it's worse. It's all fill in the blanks. Memorize it and just fill what you memorize. You don't have to understand it sometimes. You don't have to know how to apply it. You just remember it and do it. And so that obviously goes against the entire model of being entrepreneurial, and that's another challenge. And then another thing is just difficult to access capital, especially in the U.S. Again, because over here you're a foreigner, you don't have as much connections, you don't sell as well because of the language barrier. So there's a lot of issues for you to get access to the capital that you need to start a business. And last slide. Richard did want me to talk a little bit about if we had plans to expand to Asia. So we are planning to enter the Asian market. Obviously, as a startup, we don't want to be spread too thin. It's a small team. If we try to make it perfect for the globe, we're going to be sucky everywhere. So we first want to nail down the U.S. market where we understand better at this point. But we have been making a lot of plans to expand to China, which is obviously a lot bigger market. And it's a market where they've put a lot of value in discounts and reward points. So in the U.S., a lot of people still throw away their punch cards. They forget about it. They don't care about coupons as much. But in most Asian cultures, that's a huge thing. People want their discounts. And there's actually a funny story about Japan on this, where I probably won't have time to go over. But to do that, we also strategically, or even desperately, I guess, raise some money through some individuals in Asia, and these are very influential people there. So they have a lot of connections and they've been talking about it already, to bring our brand into places like Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Beijing. So definitely, we don't want to move too fast, but it's in the plans, and we have connections there. So that's something we want to do. And I think that's the next slide is just a thank you slide. Thank you for having me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. Actually, I really want to thank both of our panelists. This has been great information, and there's so many directions that I want the conversation to go. I think one of the things I want to do is to kind of get back to your companies for a minute. With regard to the competition that you face, in some ways you face different kinds of competition because of the different businesses that you're in. Kai, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there now that are reward point applications, and is it Shopkick where you walk into the store and you get points just for walking in? Mm-hmm. You have to buy something on yours, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So as a startup company new in this space, how do you differentiate the company from all the other stuff that's out there?
I think the key for this is really understanding your customers and their needs. And every customer is different, so their needs are different. So Shopkick is great for a big a retail store like a Best Buy, because Best Buy, they have that big real estate. They just want people to walk in and walk around and buy something. But if you look into something that's a smaller store like a restaurant, they don't want people to walk in just to get points and hang around and leave. The job of a restaurant owner or manager is to get them to sit down, eat, pay money, and leave as soon as possible, to get that flow in. Yeah, obviously they have to secretly figure out how to make them enjoy the experience too. But that's their goal, like making sure people do that. And another thing is a lot of the solutions out there are very hard to implement. There's a lot of POS integrations and all that stuff, and you realize a lot of the restaurant owners, at least, they're not very comfortable with complex technology. Some of them don't even check their emails very often. And so the solution that we gave is there's no POS integration, you don't need internet, you don't even plug it in. You just put it there and it works. And so this is a solution that's not as perhaps powerful as some other companies out there, but it's something that our customer base wants more. Uh-huh. So it's definitely figuring out exactly what they want and then focusing on that.
So are you comfortable saying a little bit about how you've done so far? How many stores have signed up in all, or that kind of thing?
Okay, so in the 3 months, we've got a little over 100 stores to sign up. Most of them in the Bay Area, some of them in Southern California and Vancouver. We have some place in Chicago that ordered, and I think some in New York. So we are doing pretty well. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Good. We'll come back and talk about some other things. But Shirley, I want to ask you about WinVivo, because it seems to me that the kind of real issues you face First of all, is the expectation that a lot of people have that an over-the-counter medicine, sorry, wrong word, over-the-counter therapeutic is not going to be very effective, that it's essentially snake oil, right? And, you know, how do you overcome that as a startup company that doesn't really have a brand to start with?
Okay, that's a great question, Richard. I will just stand up and talk about it. That's exactly why we started our company with the wound healing product, because that's the one that will produce visually distinctive result. We know that Americans don't have much patience. They just want a result yesterday. Okay, so if you give them something, a tea, some ingredient, herbs for, go home and brew your tea. No, it's too smelly, or it takes too long. When am I going to see the result? So to build our company's reputation, I think you're going to start with something that truly, you know, is truly effective and also produce visually, you know, objective result. So when we show the results to people coming to our booth at trade shows or presented to potential partners, nurse practitioners and doctors, they're extremely impressed by the result. This is not true snake oil. Because you see on the internet, there's a lot of noise there, and people show you this is a miracle product. Where's the result? And they can maybe show you some kind of a magic before and after picture, especially for male pattern baldness or hair loss is magic, or wrinkle production magic. But when professionals, they look at the slow, the step-by-step tissue regeneration data from us, they know this is real. And also coupled with research done by extremely competitive and reputable research companies and teams in Silicon Valley, that gives a lot of credibility. Yeah.
Okay.
And then follow on, we can with some products like the oral products, like the psoriasis product, that might require a little bit of patience. But they reported back saying that they can feel the result pretty soon because they've lived with the disease for so long. Any change in the body, stop eating or scales start to disappear, they feel it, and they're extremely encouraged.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think my next question for both of you that's really just burning that has to be asked is, okay, so what were you surprised that you needed to learn when you Kai, those are a great list of things about the value of intercultural knowledge and the value of coming from somewhere else. That's really a great list. Were you surprised when you started doing companies here about anything? What was the biggest sort of thing you weren't prepared for?
Everything. No, it's just. I mean, I was lucky that I decided to start a company when I was in school, so it was not. So I didn't have the pressure that I'm facing today. I guess I had some time to learn without the consequences of not doing too well, and so. But a lot of it is a lot of things just turn out to be a lot difficult than you expected because. The plan's always perfect in your mind. The best time in a startup period is when the team first meets up and say, hey, that's an awesome idea. That's genius. Everything's amazing, right? And then things happen and just everything takes 4 times longer than you expected and you had to switch things around. And so it's just, everything kind of catches you unexpectedly, but the skill you need to learn is to be prepared when things catch you unexpectedly. But you can't really train yourself
expect what you don't expect, there's something wrong. Okay.
Yeah, but you can't anticipate everything that's happening, and that's the nature of it.
Okay. Shirley, you came to it from a different kind of background. I mean, you were an IP attorney for Wilson Sonsini, so you did that for a while. You had worked in a major, biochem lab. What were the surprises when you actually got out and became the CEO?
Okay, so unlike you, Kai, I think I've seen the worst situations being an attorney, because they will not come to you until there's a big trouble. So I would say, and also we help a lot of startups when the issues facing startups, I think I'm pretty familiar with. But still, after you get out of your comfort zone, get out of your extremely lucrative position, and start your own company and put your own money into the company and try to raise money from angels and institutional investors, that's a big jump. And to me, my heartfelt thanks goes to my husband, Jeff Chow here. He's a banker from Morgan Stanley, and he's extremely supportive. And he knows that this is what I have been waiting for. I've been preparing myself, all this biomedical research and helping startups. Now it's time really to put all the expertise together and work with great people and come up with great solutions to a lot of people who suffer from the chronic conditions.
Okay.
Nothing makes me happier than to see like the guy's psoriasis disappear from his body and people's eczema or the wound heal. It's just like, it's extremely satisfactory.
Okay.
Money will come now, hopefully.
Okay, good. And both of our companies actually have revenue already. I mean, this is one of the distinctive things about the panel this week is, you have a lot of startup companies where they're in the middle of this sort of dip in the red, but you've both been able to really generate revenue early, and, it looks very promising from now. Let's open the floor to questions. Helen. Helen was our speaker last week.
Oh, Helen, I read your book. Definitely.
Well, my question probably is obvious. Do we have anti-aging products?
Coming soon, Helen. Yes, we definitely anticipate that kind of need across the room, male or female.
Okay. Another question.
Albert. Question for Shirley is actually, I would like to understand a little bit more what's your process from the R&D to extracting the ingredients and how to manufacture and then marketing.
Okay. A quick answer. It's going to be a long answer if I have to go through the details. But quickly, what distinguishes WinVivo from a lot of, I would say, feel-good, new age type of products is that we follow, although it's a natural product, but we do follow Western type of quality control and standardization. So for each ingredient, we wanted to know what are the main components in the botanical that actually contribute to the function we're looking for, and try to keep each batch, with the same type of ingredients having this similar type percentage of that main ingredient. So it's called standardization. In terms of manufacturing, they are manufactured here in the U.S.
So are you actually sourcing from botanical solutions that are in use, or are you really, was it an idea that two people tried something new?
It's a great question, Richard. Half and half. For example, the healing balm, we wouldn't want to reinvent the wheel because this product has been used in clinic for over 30 years and produce consistent results. But before, in China. And before we licensed that, however, we did a very thorough due diligence, including did a little experiment on ourselves. Don't ask what. Okay. And we know that works. Okay. Of course, later we designed a series of animal model study to validate and compare the product side by side with the standard of care. And it's really impressed the hell of the researchers there. Anyway, so then for the, lastly, the quality control is extremely important. It's a lifeline of a company. So in order to build a sustainable business, we're here to stay for the next 100 years or something. We better make sure that our products stand up to the test. And so far, it's such interesting to UK about reputation management. What surprised me is a testimonial dug out by our new chief marketing officer. She was doing due diligence on WinVivo, and she was Miss Sandy Duvetter, who's an award-winning media lady. She was digging on the web and trying to find bad press on WinVivo. She couldn't find any. Instead, she found a review. Somebody wrote a review, gave us a score of 10, full score for our botanical the throat lozenges. We didn't even know. That's a great finding. But continue going on, we wanted to make sure that our products produce consistently same result and with good quality. And so,
Shirley, real quickly, what
Yeah.
kind of a team do you have in the company? About how many people are working full time? And
right. So far, we have in our team, I would call full-time or close to full-time, 4 people. But they're extremely entrepreneurial, very highly motivated. They're all here today. Katie, Sandy, and Nancy, Dr. Nancy Yu. And we also, as you know, we build alliance across the Pacific with entrepreneurs, experts in China, and also manufacturing experts in the U.S., and academic researcher collaborators here in Stanford as well.
yeah, okay. Yukai, how big is your team?
My team, we have about maybe 7 full-timers and about maybe 5 more part-timers.
And from this point on, how much of your time you think will be devoted to new kind of developments as opposed to expanding this and building out the service side?
I think since we are pushing out a generation 2 of our product, for the next 3 months we are anticipating a lot of R&D work, product development. And then I'm assuming as when we launch, we'll also do a lot of refinement. So maybe 6 months down the road, it'll be a lot more expansion. But at this point, it's more product.
So your team, is it very international? People from all over?
My team is mostly from the U.S., but I guess diversified in the U.S.
Okay, okay. But are there any other people from foreign countries?
We have one person from Hong Kong, one person in Vancouver, and I think that is it. Everyone else was mostly born and raised in the state.
Okay. Shirley, what about the 4 people here?
Oh, I would say we're all U.S. We didn't have to face the visa issue. Okay, we got a U.S. citizenship a long time ago. And Katie's born in Long Beach. And Sandy born in California. And Nancy born in China was our nutrition and science expert. So I think we enjoy this kind of especially you don't care where they come from.
So have
the common ingredient is
okay.
entrepreneurship.
Have
And people,
yeah.
people have to be willing to roll up the sleeve and do the work, because now I know I got out of my comfort zone. You really have to do a lot of work. Sometimes secretary job, you go to the post office and mail the product. That's what you have to do. But it's a very good experience because you're collecting revenue.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Next question. Back in the back.
Yeah, I have a question for you. So where do you see gamification going? I've heard a lot for corporate websites and getting into mobile tech. Do you see like the idea of gamification kind of hitting some kind of saturation point, or do you think just about any company enterprise can use this?
It kind of depends on, I guess I'll stand up for this one. It depends on how broad you define gamification, because making a process more interesting, more engaging is definitely not a fad. It's definitely something that's here to stay. Like it's just useful. So, but you clearly have to have value. It clearly has to be useful in itself. If you think about it, gamification, for those who don't know, it's basically taking something that you usually do, like eating out or going on a website or checking your email, and adding some gaming mechanics to it. So adding some points leaderboard and all that stuff to make it more interesting, and you're basically taking the things that make games addicting and successful and put it into other stuff. But one thing that's really important to note is that all games have gaming mechanics in it. All games have gamification in it. But some games are fun and popular, while most games don't succeed, right? So gamification itself is not what makes something successful. It has to be intriguing. It has to be useful. So if you take something that's just does not create value and you add some layers of gamification, it's not useful. But if it's something that creates core value that people want anyway, but you make it more engaging and fun, I think that is here to stay. And it doesn't matter if they call it gamification or something else, but the core of it is something that I think has a long-term value for everyone.
Good, thanks. Other questions? So, Shirley, what are your plans for kind of expanding beyond the U.S. market? You're selling online. Are you in stores as well, or are you all online right now?
Of course, when we started, the easiest way is go online first because there's no physical space needed. And now, as our company grows and also reputation grows, we start to have affiliates coming, and clinicians and nurses, or even like some I would say naturopathic practitioners, spas, some natural food stores wanted to form alliance with us. And even online marketing firms already form alliance with us. So right here in the U.S., but talking international expansion, we have to plan it well because you don't want, once you get into a market too early, your brand, if your brand is not strong enough, it can be easily punished by people copying you left and right and everything. So we do plan to go to Asia and Europe also because our product, I think, are very unique and it will benefit a lot more people.
Okay.
We just have to plan well and build a team for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Go ahead.
Are you
Feedback.
selling them in China? I mean, is it being sold in China, your products? They
No.
come from China, so are they being
Not yet.
sold there?
No, because we wanted to make sure that we have absolute good quality control, and then we systematically market it throughout the whole world.
So how do you control for quality?
Okay. This is very important because for natural product, it's just like cooking. Giving you the same ingredients, because of the process is different, the outcome is different. So that's why the whole manufacturing process has to be controlled, almost like a Coca-Cola kind of a trade secret treatment. And then later, you go and try to find the distributors and
Well, there's
stuff
the
from
formulation, but there's also making sure that each batch is the same formula.
That's right. Yeah. Fortunately, and because I would say you're not relying on a single ingredient in the mixture to perform the magic. It's a synergy there. So it would not. It's not like a very powerful single ingredient. If you differ by 1%, it's gonna kill you. No. So it's all nicely buffered in a nice synergistic mixture. As long as you have that synergistic mixture, even if there's a difference in 1%, 2%, it would not go too far. So that's what I feel comfortable about natural products.
Okay.
Yeah, they're naturally balanced.
Yukai, if you had started Reward Me in Taiwan or someplace else in Asia, would you have done things differently, do you think?
Surely I will, but I think a big thing is just the hardware has to support it because, and this is another thing about creating a company, sometimes you create a company, and I've had some of my previous companies where investors ask, so how come no one did this 10 years ago? And it was because it was possible. And oftentimes you realize, one, because there was some problem with the idea, or because the timing wasn't ready, or because a lot of people are doing it, and therefore there's a lot of competition that's really established. And so the nice thing about Reward Me is that it only became possible once there's enough distribution of smartphones in the States, and the equipment has to be useful enough with a GPS in it, with the compass in it, autofocus. So something like that wasn't possible like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And so in Taiwan, I think it's just the market has to be ready, and it just really depends. I might just have a whole different solution that does not depend on smartphones based on that.
So Shirley, what would make a market ready for WinVivo versus not ready for WinVivo?
I think if we launch our product 10 years ago, I would say it's too early because right now you can see that people now taking more proactive attitude toward the health, and also thanks to the internet that people can get easy access to information. They can do their own comparison and do their own due diligence. If the company is now doing well or sell snake oil. For the beginning, may be okay, but soon you're going to see complaints listed on our website, left and right. So I think if we will stick to our principle and provide the best quality products and produce the reliable results, I think our company will grow. And also with the people's more attitude toward more sustainable growth and the green revolution happening all over the world, I think we have a very good timing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Nobody like to be a guinea pig, and especially the first guinea pig. Nobody even be a guinea pig for startups. So how do you find your first customer, especially paying customers? Both of you.
I think for both. Yeah, getting the first paying customer. You can get people to try something out, but the first paying customer, Yukai, why don't you go with that first?
So first of all, like a lot of startups, we're still trying to find the balance point, the optimized point about how much money we should charge our customers, and even the revenue we did collect is more like just testing the waters, and it's not a revenue model that we're scaling up with or anything. But I think it really depends on what's your business doing. Because what we do has inherent economic value. It's not something where it's a lot of fun, it's interesting, it's something that, hey, if our stuff works, we make more money for you. We increase your profits. So therefore, as long as they're convinced that they'll make more money because of your product, they're happy to pay, a small amount of that. And also, it's because in the business's mind, they already know that loyalty programs make more money. So sometimes it's hard to convince. If nothing's like this has been never done, no loyalty program in the world has existed, then convince them, say, hey, if you try to reward them a little bit, it's like, what, I have to give up something? Like, I don't believe in this. Then it's a lot harder. But you kind of go into what they already have in mind and just have a better solution to do what they already wanted to do. I think that's a lot easier.
But especially the pricing really sounds like artistry. This feels like it's right, and then you test it out and see what happens. That kind of approach.
Yeah.
That's pretty labor intensive.
So like most startups, your early customers, you do have to talk to them a lot in terms of what you need to improve, what features you need to add, what kind of price point do they think this is worth. So at the beginning, definitely, you have to spend a lot more attention on your early customers. But once you have it nailed down, that's the point where you can take that model and scale to a lot bigger.
Indeed, Yukai's right. Depending on the value you provide, and we found that at the beginning, you wanted to give people the product to try so they can experience it. But in extreme cases, like professionals, they look at the data, they say, wow, this really works better than anything I've tried before.
If they believe it.
They're convinced by the data. But of course, you're going to give them some samples. Samples really work like magic. And people, once they try it, and they're hooked. And I'll give you a very interesting example. Just last weekend, we went to San Francisco to hold this booth at the trade show, the Green Festival. And we were selling the throat lozenges for people with irritated throat. At the end of the show, we already closed the shop. We have 2 or 3 exhibitors rush into our booth and desperately want our product because their throat was on fire because of a whole day talking. And we gave them sample previously, and they remember it, and it helped them, and they desperately need it. And they'll be happy to pay whatever you charge them at that point. Anyway, so of course you have to do good market research to set your price point. Yeah.
Next question.
So for the products of therapeutics, what are the risks and the liability your company will be facing? Because it's not over the counter. It's actually more like a health product, right?
Oh, you're asking me
so what are the risks and the liability your company may face?
Of course, as a good company, you always have to carry product liability insurance. That's why as a lawyer, that's what I would take care of in the first place. As I said, our company is built on the principle of using food as medicine. And we better know what we're doing. And the quality of our ingredients and the way we formulate it would have to be the safest, I would say. Okay, and of course, we wanted to educate the consumer about correct usage of it. So far, there's really, as you can see, search the website, there's no complaint. But we always wanted to be vigilant about that and make sure our product has the highest quality and also educate people about how to correctly use it. Yeah.
Okay, maybe one more question and I'll ask it. So the market in China is really, exploding for everything. Mm-hmm. And I'll ask both of you. I'll start with you, Kai. Do you really think that young entrepreneurs from China should deal with the problems of legal status and all of this? Is it worth staying in the United States a few years to develop a company, or should they go back to China immediately and try to build something there?
I would say if the current system does not work or does not improve, I would highly recommend the Chinese people who are studying here maybe to go back to China and create a company there.
So the system, meaning the immigration system, that kind of issue.
They are. Congress is working on it, but it's Congress pushing very slowly. But I would say running a startup is risky enough and with all that layers on top of it, it's just a lot more risky. You do have to be kind of stubborn to want to stay here and do everything here, and almost not just in the sense of entrepreneurship. I've seen a lot of people who finished school and went into a corporate job in banking and consulting, and because they're so dependent on the company that's sponsoring them, a lot of the companies employers take advantage of them. They give them low pay, give them more work, because they know you cannot leave. If you leave, you gotta go back to your country. So some people if they go back to their country, they're top in the nation. They're treated with a lot of respect, very successful, highly paid. But because they're a foreigner in the U.S., they're taken advantage of, and 10 years of their life just go by without getting to the point that they can achieve. So
I'm smiling because it sounds like we've got the sweatshops. Yeah, okay. Shirley, what do you think? Should a young person studying here who's from China, is it worth getting some experience in the U.S. first, or is it better to just go back?
Okay, based on my own personal experience, I think I wouldn't want to trade my experience in America, New York and Silicon Valley with anything else. I think
that's really just a personal satisfaction life thing.
Well, I think here in the U.S., as you kind of discussed that entrepreneurship and creativity. I think this kind of culture is pretty unique in the whole world. I mean, I wanted to get enough of that and then go back and try to nurture that kind of a culture in China and help building the bridge between Silicon Valley and Chinese version of Silicon Valley, hopefully, somewhere near Shanghai. That's in our near-term project. We may go back to Hangzhou, where you visited, Richard.
Okay.
Yeah, to help entrepreneurs there to build a good company and start a global business there.
Okay.
And I would like to append my answer. So I do agree that if you go to school, you graduate here, I think it is valuable learning from how people do business here. So I would recommend perhaps join a company, join a startup, helping out in college. Go to experience different startups. Listen to Richard Dasher's lessons and all that stuff. I'd highly recommend it. Learn as much as you can. But when it comes to starting your own company, and I really think that if you want to at least maximize your chance of success and you're not stubborn about where you want to create it, I would say China has a bigger opportunity, and it has the rules that everyone has fair game. Where over here, if you don't have the right status, you have to waste years of your time just to get to the point where everyone starts off with, and that's a challenge for entrepreneurs who want to succeed.
Okay, excellent. Actually, next week we're going to come back to the whole idea about how do you develop the skills you need as an entrepreneur. We're going to focus on Southeast Asia. Have Dr. Ed Rubesh coming back next week to talk about the situation with teaching entrepreneurship in Thailand and other Southeast Asian countries. First of all, I want to thank our panelists of people who are really out in the world making a success. Thank you, and thanks so much for coming.